So I guess I just wasn't aware when Orella came out today that we would shift from 8.6 to 8.7. So I was mentally not prepared to go over my stats for 8.6, but here we are going to do it anyway. For context who aren't as familiar with some of my TikTok videos, I have been tracking my killer sightings in Dead by Daylight all the way since the tail end of 8.2's patch. Today, I kind of wanted to do like a more long form video about it. Normally when I make TikToks about this, I just do like a super short 4 to 5 minute thing. Hopefully this won't be terribly long, but I wanted to make it more formal, kind of actually deep dive into the numbers a little bit, kind of give my thoughts on the numbers and kind of have you watch as I go through this process with you. If you're unfamiliar what this is, I've been tracking every single killer that I see in my Dead by Daylight games since 8.2, or the tail end of 8.2, I should say. Personally, I find it really interesting to see how killer preferences shape and shift over time due to killers being added, to events, to changes happening in their kit, and also just looking at the spreadsheet makes my brain really happy. Also, I can say that learning how to manipulate spreadsheets for Dead by Daylight has actually helped me be able to do them for work. So shout out to Dead by Daylight for making me better at my job, I guess. So we're gonna dive in here. I currently have up on the screen, this is just 8.6 on its own. So we will tabulate it into the full total. And I wanted to do that with all of you because Kaneki happened during this season. So there has been a lot of shifting of stats and how things are going to look in the spreadsheet. Because if you notice, I do have conditional formatting set. So when a space is blank, it shows as a light mint color. And then there's a gradient that happens based on the number, how high the number is from 0 to 100% in percentile. So you can clearly see that Ghoul takes the cake for the entirety of 8.6 with a total of 78 sightings out of 306 games. Now, if we were to do math, which I'm not a math person, as my students are very familiar with, and I actually advise business students, so this is even more embarrassing. So out of my 306 games, 25% of them were against Kaneki, which kind of makes sense considering the Ghoul as a character, because I very much love playing against Ghoul. And I think a lot of people were just excited for this killer and for this chapter of Dead by Daylight. I'm sad that we didn't really get to see the lobby screen all that often, because the lobby screen was actually pretty cool. So I'm actually quite curious what would happen. How would this sheet look if we were to take out Ghoul entirely? Mainly for the conditional formatting purposes, because if you look at 8.5, this is what a typical sheet should look like. With the conditional formatting, the goal of it was to kind of physically map out where are the hot spots of a specific killer being played. And again, there's going to be discrepancies because if you look, this is 8.5 in this example. Like, I played less games in 8.5 and 8.5.1 in comparison to 8.5.2 and then Chaos Shuffle for this patch's iteration of it. So again, like, there's going to be obviously some discrepancies. They're not going to be all equal. It is interesting to see where the numbers lie. So with Kaneki in the mix, obviously he is the top person, the top killer I saw this time around. And I do have a notes column. So like, I did note that he was the new killer, and there was also balance changes in the middle of Blood Moon. I also made a note up here, even though technically it's under Trapper, but I did make a note that I stopped playing Blood Moon once we kind of hit the 500% marker, and then I went right into 8.6.2. And you also see here that I only played like 2 games in 8.6.1. That was because it was overlapped between Blood Moon and 6.2. So I just played these 2 games. I figured I'd keep them here. I wasn't going to lump them in one way or another because I frankly don't remember when I played these 2 games. So I figured I'd just keep them here regardless. So let's make a copy of this sheet just because I don't want to accidentally mix anything up. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete Ghoul. We're going to delete him, which I think some people would actually wish to do that in the game, but they can't. So we're gonna delete the Ghoul and see what happens to the sheet. Ooh. Now this is what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is gonna be a lot more fun to look at. With the conditional formatting, I'm gonna have to do something in the actual overall spreadsheet because, like, again, it is very much an outlier. Like, these are outlier numbers, in my opinion. Okay, so without Ghoul in the mix, this is what the breakdown looks like. So for 8.6 as a whole, we saw next to Ghoul being obviously the most. Mastermind we saw the most, which I did notice that within the last couple of days of playing 8.6. I did see a lot more Weskers and Nemesis is? Whatever the plural for Nemesis is? Nemesis? I don't know. Educate me in the comments. But I did notice more of Mastermind and Nemesis, and maybe that was because, like, 2v8, there was a survey about 2v8 that went around, so maybe people are, like, getting back in and practicing for 2v8, because I did see more Masterminds during Chaos Shuffle. I did see more Nemesises in Chaos Shuffle, even though I played less games in Chaos Shuffle in comparison to 6.2. Did see some more Blights. Saw less Legions this time around. I saw the most Legions in 6.2. Same with Cannibal and Huntress. And then if we were looking at the other end of the spectrum, so Wraith and Trickster we only saw once, which is actually kind of surprising. I would expect Wraith to be more than Trickster. And it's also kind of surprising that Skull Merchant's not at the bottom tier this time around. Like, Skull Merchant we saw 5 times in total, which if we look over at my other sheet, this is the master spreadsheet. So if we look at Skull Merchant, like, I've seen her twice in the last 6 months, roughly. Whenever 8.3 came out, I don't remember. I saw her twice. I saw her more times in 8.6 as a whole than I saw her in the last 6 months. And maybe that's because her balance changes are coming, or like I don't know if they're called balance changes, but her rework 2.3, 3.0 is happening at some point. I don't know if it came out today or not. I didn't fully read the patch notes for today. I'm wondering if that had something to do with it, because usually Skull Merchant, again, is like probably, I think, one of the least picked characters in the game. It's interesting to kind of see this resurgence of Skull Merchant, and I think it's because it's in ahead of the changes that are coming. But of course, like, since I'm a Trickster fan, I'm always gonna be disappointed that Trickster I only saw him once. It feels like I saw him more, but that's because I was playing a lot of Trickster because I had a lot of Cobbler to give. So I was playing him a lot because I wanted to disperse the Cobbler during the 500%. Sue me, I guess. I don't know. I can't wait for this new anniversary mode. But yeah, like, our high numbers, like Huntress makes sense. Cannibal, not so much. How many times I see Cannibal, generally speaking? Cannibal... Oh, Cannibal's 15, generally. As of 8.5, I saw him 15 times. So, like, I've almost seen him more times this... But to be fair, like, I did play more games this time around. I was really playing a lot of games. And then Legion we saw a lot. Light, Nemesis, Mastermind, and Knight I have seen a lot more this iteration. So that's kind of the numbers for 8.6 as a whole. So what we're gonna do, actually, is we are, in real time, going to take the 8.6 master list and we're gonna plug it into the overall spreadsheet. Now, I'm gonna hold off on doing Ghoul just for the time being because I have a feeling for the 8.6 and Blood Moon, I'm gonna have to do some alternative conditional formatting for that because I feel like that's gonna throw every other color off here and we're not gonna see this nice little gradient list. We're gonna hold off on doing Ghoul for the time being. We'll save that for the very end of the video. All right, so we're gonna copy everything but Ghoul. And then we're gonna paste. Ta-da! Okay, so this is the overall list of Dead by Daylight killers we have seen. So I know my camera's in the way, so I'm just gonna move that way. Okay, so as you can kind of see here, so on the side here we have like the total across every single patch we have played so far, or since I have been tracking at least. And we can see that even in this most recent iteration, I wonder, oh, I need to tabulate games down here. It was interesting how, oh, to be fair, I did play a lot of games in 8.5.2. That must have been winter break. That must have been when I was just home and had nothing else better to do with my time. And maybe when I wasn't streaming, because there was a hot minute when I wasn't streaming, but also at the same time, like there was also a period where I couldn't play games because my game kept crashing. Well, not my game, my PC kept crashing. So I'm not sure where 8.5.2 fell into that, but I digress. Anyway, so if we're looking at the total number of killers we have seen, obviously Kaneki is going to take the cake on this one here. But if we look at the rest of them, Ghostface and Huntress are now tied. Interesting. And then Mastermind's at 44, Nemesis at 42. Obviously tracks from what I've seen, because this is exactly what I have been seeing in my games. So of course this is what is tracking for me. But if we look at the lower numbers, so like Skull Merchant is still the lowest out of all of them, with Artist at 9, Twins at 10, Hag at 11, and then Plague at 13. So this is what's gonna happen if we add the Ghoul numbers into the mix. So you're gonna see how drastically the colors are gonna change. So I'll move this over here so you can kind of see, actually, move to like right here so you can kind of see like this. All right, so oh boy, oh, that changed a lot of colors. Which I have a feeling like the total number is gonna mellow out in due time. I have a strong feeling that like once we get further and further out from Ghoul's launch, this number being so vehemently red is gonna change, and like these are all gonna start catching up to it. We haven't seen that before with prior killers. Obviously, like I started tracking this like right after Dark Lord came out, so I don't have those numbers to compare. Houndmaster just didn't have those totals. Granted, I did not play as many games during that opening part when Houndmaster was just released. There's just no comparison. Like over half of my games during 8.6 were Ghoul games, whereas not even half of mine in 8.4 was Houndmaster. So I think that goes without saying that I think Ghoul just had like a better launch. Like people were just really receptive to Ghoul. And I know people have been talking about how Ghoul was kind of broken at the start. And I'm not the person to ask those questions to. I'm not super into balance of Dead by Daylight. I don't really understand it all that much. Also, like I've barely cracked 1,000 hours. Like I'm nowhere near 1,000 hours in the game. Like I'm around like 770 right now. So I'm not the person to be talking to about balance in the game. But from what people have been saying is that Ghoul was kind of broken at the beginning, and you could assume that maybe some people on the killer side were maybe taking advantage of that. So maybe that's why we're also seeing Ghoul a lot more, but also Ghoul as a character is just kind of cool. Like Kaneki, I've never fucked with Tokyo Ghoul. I've never fucked a lot with anime. But Ghoul as a character is really, really cool. So I think that kind of also explains why he had like a really successful launch in comparison to an original character like Houndmaster. Even though Houndmaster, in my opinion, is still really cool character lore-wise, her power may not be as strong as others, but I think still she's really cool aesthetically. And it's a very, to me, it's a unique power. But yeah, just looking at these stats, I wish I saw Trickster more. Again, I'm a Trickster enjoyer. Like, I wish I saw him more. But this is kind of our stats for 8.6. I'm really curious to know if these kind of line up with what you have been feeling in the game. And again, I'm playing the game usually more in the evening, on the weekdays, any time during the day on the weekends, and on North American servers. So obviously, depending on where you are in the world, when you're playing the game, and probably your MMR maybe has something to do with it too. But I'm curious to know, like, does this kind of track with what you're seeing in your Dead by Daylight games? Have you saw a lot of Ghoul and then suddenly like you're not seeing him as much anymore? Because that's what I'm seeing, and I'm not sure if it's because the new shiny toy effect has kind of tapered off now, or because the balance changes as well that also happened that made people maybe not want to play him as much. But does this kind of track with your experiences? And with 8.7, we do have to look forward to, I'm not sure if anniversary event is going to start in 8.7. I would imagine it's going to, but I could be very wrong on that. So I'll be playing strictly anniversary mode once it releases. But we will be expecting another iteration of 2v8, so that has its own spreadsheet, fun fact, so I'll definitely be tracking that as well. I hope you kind of enjoyed seeing this breakdown. If you do want a copy of this spreadsheet for your own tracking purposes, let me know in the comments and I can make a shareable blank document if you want it. But that's only if you want it. You don't have to do this. I'm just neurodivergent and this makes my brain happy. But with that, I will see you all real soon. Thanks for tuning in on my little deep dive of numbers and spreadsheets. And hopefully I'll see you in another video in the future. My name's Aaron Gray, queer body Twitch streamer, signing off.